The whole football stadium is packed, sold out. Woo! It's coming your way.
Hey, this is Steve Corino, and it's the returning edition of Old School here on Highspots. And what a return that I'm having, because I have my mentor, my friend, a guy I haven't seen in almost 12 years, the legendary Jack Victory, with me here today.
Great to see you again,
hey, Jacko.
My friend.
Now, Jacko, this is one of those videos that we're not talking about like your dirty stories or how much heat you have with somebody and stuff like that. Just basically two wrestlers having to sit down and having fun and talking about your career and just getting to know Jack Victory, the person that they haven't seen. Off screen and stuff like that. Now, you grew up in New Jersey, correct?
I did, yeah.
And when did you become a wrestling fan?
Oh God, when I was still in diapers. I grew up watching WWF,
And what year would you say you started watching?
Oh, it was, Chief J. Strongbow era, Andre the Giant era. I started in the 80s, so it had to be, I was born in 64, so in the 70s.
And were your parents wrestling fans?
No.
Or you just kind of
They despised of it. Yeah.
Did you stumble upon wrestling, or how did you do you remember how you discovered wrestling?
No, not really. I mean, I just flipping through channels one day and I just got hooked.
Wow.
Yeah, just hooked.
Now, as you are growing up and you're watching wrestling, did you take did you get the wrestling magazines? Being in New Jersey, the Apter magazines. Absolutely. And you were saying like Chief J. Strongbow, Andre the Giant. Did you have favorites? Did you feel like not a kinship?
Snooker, Snooker was a favorite back then. Bruno, they always rooted for the baby faces.
Now you were, I was gonna say, being rooted for the babyface, but weren't you a Valiant fan, a Valiant Brothers fan?
Correct.
Now, them being heels in the New York territory, do you remember what drew you to liking the Valiant? So you said you liked Snooki, you liked Bruno, you liked the babyfaces, but what drew you to the Valiant Brothers?
Just the fire, just the showmanship of their matches.
Now, were you a Jimmy Valiant fan? Now
it was Jimmy and Johnny back then.
Right.
Yeah.
The original Valiants.
Right.
Now, with Handsome Jimmy, people that see him today see, this very happy and always smiling older man that's giving fist bumps and saying I love you and stuff like that. But if you grew up in the 70s, you you saw Handsome Jimmy Valiant,
right,
who was, a shit heel that would do everything to get under the New York crowd.
Absolutely, yeah. Good heels.
Now, were you a fan of Johnny and Jerry Valiant, or did you
not
see
as
it
much.
as
not as much.
A replacement?
Right, yeah.
Now, at what age did you decide in your mind, like, what, I am going to pursue professional wrestling?
Well, I knew it all, through grade school and everything, that's what I was going to do. There was no question in my mind. That's what I was going to do. I would actually, beat up people in school, just, and try to gimmick matches in school and all that, Friends around the neighborhood, we'd, every kid's dream, you put 4 posts in and tie ropes around it, and hold matches every weekend,
The
it was
original
just something,
backyard wrestling.
Absolutely.
Now, growing up, when did you realize that wrestling wasn't 100% real? Were you?
It was.
Was it early on, or
it was pretty early on?
Yeah. Now, at that moment, did the light go on that said, "Okay, this is work, and I can do this," as opposed to this is a shoot, and I don't know if I can do this?
To be honest with you, when I first broke into the wrestling, it was with the Mongos. It was with people in Easton, Pennsylvania. When I was a young pup, I was being trained when I was like 17 years old. With different guys. and you still were always green.
Yeah.
You know, where, you knew it was a wizard, but, it was just like, you always had that thing in the back of your mind that it was real. It was, you always wanted to live that fantasy still.
Now, you're 17, you're breaking in. Where do you break in? It's what's that, 1982, 81?
A little earlier than that. It was, I graduated high school in 82. Just started going to indie shows around Jersey, which was plenty back then.
Wow. Okay, so the outlaw shows were
Shows
big.
were big time, yeah.
How do you break in at this point? Because there's not like wrestling schools
I was
on
always
every
a big
block.
guy. I was always a big guy, and it was just, believe it or not, the way I got into the business was the Nature Boy lived in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
Nature Boy Buddy Rogers.
And believe it or not, my dad drove me to his house, and I actually knocked on his door as a mark.
Wow.
And he actually gave me 4 or 5 promotions, and one happened to be Bill Watts. Mm-hmm. And really? What the? I'm so sorry. So he gave me 4 or 5 promotions, and back then it was tapes.
Yep.
So my dad put a couple of my matches, local matches, outlaw matches together, and we actually sent them to all these promotions, which is really iconic. And about 3 weeks later, Bill Dundee, who was the booker for Bill Watts, called me up and said, we would like to fly you into Houston and give you a tryout. And they flew me in. I did a match, Sonny King maybe?
Wow, Sonny King.
First match, Houston Coliseum. Packed house. I'm so green.
Yeah.
It was like really funny. And had like a 6-minute match, put him over, and they flew me home the next day. And I was like, I think I blew it. And it took about 3 weeks, and Bill Dundee calls back and he goes, we'd like you to start. Gave me a date. Said, we're not flying you in, you got to drive in.
Right.
Because that wasn't a flying territory. But I mean, back in the day, you didn't fly.
Right.
You drove.
You
blew up cars. It was how many miles you put on. And that's how I broke in.
Now, what was your first wrestling name?
It was actually Jack Valiant.
Right.
And I went in, and Bill Dundee goes, oh, hell no. That ain't happening.
Right.
And I go, okay, well, come up with something. And he came back about 20 minutes later. He says, I got it. Jack Victory. You'll never win a match. and we're going to call you Jack Victory. You'll get so much heat. And I go, all right, that sounds great. And that's how it was born.
And you had the tights already that had that was designed as the Valiant.
I was copying their gimmick. You're green back then. All the boys do it when they break in the business. It's just.
And you had the bleach blonde hair and everything at the time?
Yeah, I did.
Wow. Now, you're working these outlaw shows that are, here and there and small pay and this. Now,
no pay most of the time, right?
Really, no pay?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, and then you get thrown into the fire. You're now in MidSouth Wrestling.
8 shows a week.
8 shows a week. And you said it's a driving territory. And those people that watch us probably know, and they've read and they've heard other interviews where it was the most grueling road schedule because you were driving, some people say 2,500, 3,000 miles a week.
A week, yeah.
And that's literally like driving from Los Angeles to New York City.
In a week, yeah.
Every week.
Boom, 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 boom. But it was incredible. It was Shreveport, Louisiana on Tuesday, Alexandria, Louisiana on Wednesday, Baton Rouge on Thursday, and these buildings, there was no internet, so none of the fans got crossover unless they drove a lot of people drove the circuit with us, but it was every week like that, and there were some times where different house shows would go sporadic, Jackson, Mississippi and stuff like that. But sometimes you would literally have to, on a Sunday, he ran 2 shows. You literally had to wrestle a show, get done, leave your gear on, jump in your car, and drive to the next show because you were opening the match. You were opening that match, and you were there like
hours
10
away.
minutes. Yeah, like 10 minutes before the bell rang.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you that's a grueling schedule, eight matches a week,
Yep.
3,000, 2,500, 3,000 miles. How does your body adjust to that? Is it something that just becomes automatic?
Oh yeah. You were in the best shape of your life when you're doing it every day. It's, when after that I went to World Class and they would work 3 or 4 shows a week.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually harder to do that than it was to do
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
because your body gets used to it. Just like I talked to Ricky Morton today, and he says he works 3 or 4 shows a week still.
Right.
And he said if I stopped, I couldn't walk.
Right.
So he
Wow,
keeps
that's
that.
wild.
It's.
Now, do you have an apartment, or are you just on the road so constantly that you're hotel? Or did guys have
Me personally,
more of
I
a
lived
base?
on the road.
Yes.
A lot of guys lived in Alexandria, Louisiana, because they thought that was like the spine of it all. Houston and Oklahoma and Mississippi, and I mean it was that territory. But I know the Fantastics lived in Hacksaw lived there. Bunch of guys lived in and saw it maybe twice a week.
Wow.
Maybe.
Now, living on the road, if you have a family and you're on the road 7 days a week, 8 shows a week, it's got to be hard. Now, you're single, right?
Well, I was actually, I got married in MidSouth, and that lasted 5 years. She came on the road with me, which is really
and
hard.
she wasn't in the business, right?
No, she wasn't in the business.
Now, how is that for, she's on the road with you 7 days a week, living the wrestler lifestyle, even though she's not a wrestler.
Right.
And back in that day, you really didn't smarten up people. Was she smart to the business?
Well, she was. Yeah, she was smart to the business.
Okay,
you had to smarten your significant other one, because sometimes it was brutal back then.
Yeah, you're bleeding and
Bleeding
you're bruised
and
up and
you're with the sheep herders, and you get thrown into a barbed wire cage match for the first time in your life, and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? And
now, with her traveling with you, she probably got to see the other side of, oh, well, I'm married with Jack and this is cool. But then she gets to see the dark side of wrestling with, the rats, which had to be out of this world in those days.
Some good rats back then.
What was her thought? Was it hard on your marriage that she saw probably guys that were married,
Right.
or the single guys with rats in every town?
It was, I didn't really bring her to the buildings. Sometimes you would get get a hotel, and she would stay there.
Wow.
So, but she did, she saw it. It's, we didn't leave this saint life,
Right, and she accepted it.
It was
right?
like rock star status back then.
Wow.
It was like...
Now I imagine you're on the you'd have to pay for your own hotel every night.
Correct.
And stuff like that.
Yeah,
Now,
it was nothing. It was nothing like today. You don't work, you don't get paid.
Right.
There's no guarantee of anything. You get hurt, you pay for it out of your own pocket.
Right.
I've had 3 or 4 knee operations, and you don't make any money, and you still have to pay your doctor bills. So it was tough back then.
And you're paying for your own hotel. Now, do you have I got to Memphis at the end, and guys still had their gimmicks of $20 a night here at the Memphis Inn, and
if we spent more than $30 a night, that was a lot. That was a suite.
Now, your first paycheck? Do you remember your first paycheck in MidSouth?
It was probably right around $1,000.
Wow, for 1 week or 2?
Yeah, for 1 week.
Now, and
that was opening match.
Opening match. Now,
right.
At that point, you are right from before that, you're working no money or little money on the Eastern Indies. And then all of a sudden, you get a $1,000 paycheck from MidSouth. You're on TV, and you're in the opening match. Do you think? Does that motivate you to get better so that you can get higher on the crowd?
Bill Watson. It was the top guys got the top money, the bottom guys got the bottom money, so you always wanted to stride to, just one match. The second match got paid more than the first match. There was no guarantees. Right. You draw a house, they collect the money, they count the money, and he had a formula how we paid the boys.
Wow. Now, did you get paid every week or every night?
It was every week.
Okay, cool.
Grizzly Smith, he was he always got the paychecks FedEx to him, and
he was the pay man.
Yep.
Now, Bill Watts has the reputation of being one of the hardest guys to work with. You'll hear guys call him a bully. You'll hear Bill Watts even today, as a good Christian man, will still bury some of the guys that come through. One name he never buries is Jack Victory. And how did you get over with Bill Watts? Especially you're 17, 18 years old coming into the territory. You're coming from the Indies. You're not coming from Houston. You're not coming from Tampa. You're coming from the Indies. And the toughest guy and the biggest bully is coming in, and he likes you. And he liked you for your whole run in and out. How did you get over with him?
The only thing I can think, it was, I was so humble to even be there. I didn't even, to me, I didn't deserve it. And when Ted DiBiase and Flair comes out and watches your match, and you come back and they tell you should have done this, you could have done that, you could have stayed in that hold a little bit longer, wait for the people to come up. Back then it was like a what am I trying to spit out? Like a story.
Right.
You told a story, and the better you told the story, the better the people reacted and all that stuff. And I was just so humble for those top guys to come and watch my match, and I learned so much from them. So much. And another thing is, when I got to the locker room, it was hello, and then I grabbed my bags and I went into a corner and didn't say a word.
And you didn't bother anybody?
Didn't bother anybody.
Now, do you think that humbleness is something that you saw in the locker room, or that was just instilled in you as a young man?
Back then, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not putting over, not dishing anybody nowadays, but the locker rooms were never like today.
Right.
Back in the day,
There's no Bubba.
Yeah, there's no Bubba. there's no policing. There's.
And do you think, there's and it's a term in wrestling. I'm not even sure that you're aware of it. CW, who's off camera, is aware of it. It's,
when did you get here?
Oh, you heard the noise while ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Be a vet like Jack Victory. And, even like we haven't seen each other in 10 years.
Right.
And we talk about that Jack Victory veteran status where you were always humble and you always were so happy to be there, whether business was bad, business was good, a young guy coming into the locker room, an old world champion comes in. You treated everybody the same, and then it just kind of radiated to, CW and I talk about it, we always wanted to be the veterans that you were.
Right.
Man, Jack Victory treated everybody the same, so we're going to treat everybody the same. And it worked out so much better for us. Now that we're in for 20 years, people look at us like, oh wow, Corino and CW and Adam Pierce, they're so humble. And we talk about the Jack Victory veteran thing. So you came into wrestling as the veteran thing, and then saw, was Ted DiBiase like that humble?
What a talent. And for him to get off, I was just like blown away. This is every night. Mm-hmm. He didn't have to get out of his chair and walk and watch my match. And then we'd sit down for 10, 15 minutes, and he would say this. The first match would, if you wrestle for 10 minutes, if you wrestle for 11 minutes, Watts would fire you.
Wow.
You had 10 minutes to put over a really nice, there was no throwing over the top ropes. There was, you were the first match. You had to know your spot.
Right.
There was no outshining the main event in the first match.
Now, going back to that, I being a wrestling fan all my life, I read stories about like sometimes in some territories the opening match wasn't allowed to hit the ropes.
No, that's true.
Or they weren't allowed to get a 2 count, because stuff like that was built higher in the crowd.
You always, those people earned being the main event, and there was no outshining. If you want to have good solid matches and work that ladder up, but don't outshine the main event.
Right.
Back in the day, quick way to get fired. You don't outshine the main event.
Right. So that makes you think on the fly. You think, okay, what can I do without the ropes? What can I do without 4 bumps in the match and stuff like that? And do you believe that, that's a lost art in today's, not per se today's shows, but do you think today's wrestling schools could teach that? Like, hey, I want you to think like an opening card wrestler. I want you to think of a third match card.
I think that's how everybody should learn. They actually should learn that story. It's a simple story. You put the baby face over, you stop him, you get heat. He makes a comeback, and you go home.
Right.
I mean, that's a simple formula.
Right.
It's just there's different ways to do the formula where you can actually get the heat first, and then false come back, and then get some heat some more. There's all different ways to do it. And back then, it was like sometimes Jackson, Mississippi wouldn't pop as much as Shreveport, Louisiana on something. So why do it?
Right.
Where today is like it's so choreographed that no one really cares if anybody pops.
Right. They're just doing
boom,
the move.
boom, 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 boom. Let's robot there.
Right. And you see this. We're doing this at WrestleCade November of 2016. We
That's
saw
today?
Yes.
Nice.
We just missed it.
Oh.
But we saw matches today, and one thing that I saw George South, CW, and we talked about it is knowing when to go home. These guys have. And they're all good kids.
They are.
None of them have a bad attitude. They're all busting their ass. They're all trying to become big stars. But they're not listening to the crowd to go home. They think they have 15 minutes, and they think they have to use all 15.
Right.
As opposed to, man, the crowd is here at 11. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And do you think... when you were a young wrestler, and how did the booker come to you and say, do you have 8 minutes, 10, or do you just kind of know, like, this is my spot?
You do, yeah, and if you work hard in those 10 minutes, I worked myself up the ladder. It took a while and everything, and you stay married down there, first, second, third match and all that stuff, and then breaks happen.
Right.
You keep yourself down that straight line, and good things happen.
Now, when does your first run in MidSouth end?
I think I had
84?
about a 3 or 4 year run, 3-year run there.
No, that's amazing for a heel.
Right, and then that's Bill just calling the phone up and saying, we did let's give him a break. And he just calls his buddy Fritz up, and I go to world class.
Right now, you're not in today's wrestling once again, and this is something not only for fans but young wrestlers that watch, that when they hear the term finish up, they get, oh my goodness, I'm getting fired or this or that, because there's not a lot of places to work.
Right. Back then there was what 15 promotions, 20 promotions, where you could go all over the place and make a good living.
And if you were popular with the office, they just knew that if you stayed there, you weren't doing yourself good, but you weren't also doing the promotion good. So they would call a different promotion to get you another job. When Watts calls you and says, hey, Jacko, we're finishing you up, you're going to start in Texas, what is your mindset? Oh my goodness, I got to learn all over again?
No, I was excited because it brought me to a different territory, different things. I starting to get good pushes when I got there, so it was a blessing.
Now, one thing, I don't think I've interviewed any of the world-class guys because of the mortality rate is awful. You can't ask Gino Hernandez this question.
Can't ask Gino.
When I was growing up, I wasn't a fan of world-class wrestling for one reason. The ring seems so freaking hard that I was like, anytime a guy would take a bump,
that was Kevin and Kerry's gimmick because they did they wanted a stiff ring, and
so it
literally
was
that
stiff,
floor
right?
That floor was actually nicer to land on than that.
Right,
yeah, the sportatorium ring.
Yes.
Yeah, that was hard.
And that was their idea. Was it because they didn't want somebody coming in the ring and seeing that it was?
I don't know. You couldn't really get a straight answer.
Taker, Now you say you go to world class, you're working 3-4 nights a week, but you're taking 5, 6, 7 bumps, a match. Now you're 21, 28 bumps a week in that awful ring. Like, how does your body recover from something like that?
It's just, you just get used to it. You've been in the business. You just get used to it. You wake up and something hurts, you just go, It's just part of the business.
Now, when do you meet John Tatum for the first time? Because a lot of fans know Tatum and Victory is the famous tag team.
I actually left World Class and went back which was the UWF.
UWF, yeah.
Right. And that was Ken Mantell was the booker, and he put us together. So
now, were you part of the jump when Ken Mantell took guys from World Class over to UWF?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It was the tail end of that, yeah.
Okay, so
he was already there, but yes,
he brought the guys over, and that was a bad time for Fritz, because Ken leaves, goes to Bill Watts, and then takes a bunch of Chris Adams, yourself, the Iceman Parsons, all these guys that come over, and not that it crippled Fritz, but it hurt Fritz for a little bit. And you come over and you meet John Tatum for the first time, right?
Yep. That was never knew Johnny, never knew Missy. But we gelled and we started tagging together, and it started going really well. And we had a good chemistry.
Right. Oh, it's definitely good chemistry. Now, a lot of people don't realize, or they may, John Tatum and Michael Hayes were cousins. Now, Michael Hayes was also in the office a little bit too, right? Was it like assistant booker?
Yeah, just
idea thrower.
Yeah, idea thrower. Yeah.
And so, whose idea was it to put you guys together? Was it Kenny Mantell? Was it Michael Hayes? Or it just was like organic?
Yeah, I think Michael might have had a lot to do with it.
Right.
I really did. I never asked that. Why they came up with that?
Because our getting together in ECW, and we'll talk about that later, was so organic of something that Paul saw in the locker room and said, you know what, I think these guys have good chemistry.
Right.
I'm going to put them together for a night and see how it gelled. And, then we were together forever. And, it was like, wow, if you put it on paper 6 months before, like, I'm going to put Corino and Victory together. Like, does it gel on paper? It's just, I think bookers, they'll write stuff, but then they see how personalities combine and say, you know what, like these guys could draw money together.
Right.
And you're with Tatum, you're with Missy. Now they're boyfriend girlfriend. Missy had gotten into the business, as we know. We've watched many Missy interviews, and we read her book. A wonderful person.
Right.
She hates me. But a wonderful person.
She probably hates me too.
No, she always talks. Everybody talks good about you.
Oh, that's good.
And I truly do respect Missy High, a Hall of Famer.
She was a great valet.
She was an amazing.
She was a great
and
valet.
Very smart.
Always there when the finish had to go down. She was always there.
Right, absolutely.
She never effed anything up.
And she was a student of the game. Like I got to know Missy years ago, and just talking to her about wrestling, you never knew like how smart she was to. The business,
yeah, she was.
Because she was a girl in the 80s, they kind of, she's a ballet or this, and I believe she was the original diva, but she knew so much of where to be, when to be, and
she was over too.
She definitely was, and she was gorgeous.
Yeah,
she was absolutely gorgeous. Now, but they were boyfriend girlfriend. You're the tag partner. What kind of life are you? Obviously, you're traveling together, right?
Those two traveled together. I was with the wife.
Still with the wife.
Yeah,
okay, so you never really had to travel with them.
We never really traveled together on the road.
Okay, good. So there wasn't any third wheel feeling during the matches because it gelled so well. Now, you're there in the middle of the trouble that happens in real life is. Missy and John breaking up. She goes with Eddie Gilbert. But, real life and wrestling life always have to combine if we can draw money.
Right.
Eddie and John start doing a heel versus heel feud over Missy. And you and Sting are like the supporting players. What's your feeling going into this? Did every night go, man, this could explode at any moment? Or I really love that we're getting a paycheck of this soap opera of a life.
I think we looked past the hatred that they and we saw that it was really drawn.
Yeah,
it was something that it just gelled and it was drawn.
And it's real life art imitates real life, and it's just so amazing that you guys could draw money and watching those matches, and you can see them on the WWE Network, which is crazy to think that all these matches I watched on video.
They still show the matches.
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
They
get your $9.99.
What?
Do they get your $9.99?
Oh, absolutely. Of course we do. So you see all these matches, and knowing what we know about wrestling, no one's taking cheap shots or appearing to take cheap shots. It's all professional, and I think, man, like I don't know if I could be that professional. Like if I lost Missy to Eddie Gilbert, I'd be like, son of a bitch, here's my shot. You know, is that something John was just a
John was
businessman?
okay with it.
Yeah?
I mean, I don't know how to put this in the nicest way. There was 10 girls wanting to be with John.
Oh,
you know,
man.
So I mean, you get over it real fast in this business.
Amazing.
That's locker room talk.
I love it.
Fucking Michael Hayes. You know, and you know the bad thing about when I started, that was another thing is we started in other territory. All the boys knew you were going to.
So they would shit in your boots on
the way
out?
No, they would fuck
I'm
with
leaving
you.
Ring of Honor next week.
And
They all get shit trailers, right?
And Michael Hayes just shit in my fucking boots and stuck it in a U-haul trailer. And it was like, I didn't unload it for like a week later. And it was like 97 degrees. And when I shoved that fucking door open, I was like, oh my fucking God, who'd I kill?
How do I know this story? He doesn't, but he used to know that.
Really? You don't know that story?
I don't, but I'm so glad we're rolling because we'll get
Buddy
back.
Roberts, just you motherfucker, son of a bitch.
Now, people that are watching are going to wonder why we jumped from how you and John met to somebody shitting in your boots.
We don't have to talk about
But let's
shitting.
go with it.
No,
So,
you think?
who shit your boots?
Michael Hayes.
Why?
Are we live?
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
Is that camera on?
Both of them are on.
Nice. Okay.
So, wait. So, Ricky Landell tells us off camera that you...
Ricky,
Hey, man.
when'd you get here?
I just got in.
Nice.
That Michael Hayes shit in your boots while you were leaving UWF and going to Texas.
What we talked about before was everybody knew when you were leaving the territory.
Right.
And obviously, I was with the Freebirds and King of Ribs. And, you know, I don't know how they did it. I never saw them sneak in. I never saw Michael squat. But I knew it was him. I mean, obviously, he told me months later. But the bad thing about it was I never opened that hatch for like a week later, and it was like 90 degrees out. And when I opened that hatch, it was like,
welcome to Texas.
What is going on? So yeah, I found one of my wrestling boots, and the Freebirds left me.
Now, like when you opened it up and you opened up the boot, and somebody shit in my boot. Did you say?
Well, it was almost
could
like
be Terry, could be Buddy, could be Michael.
It could be all three.
Right.
Yeah, it was probably all three.
They were the top three suspects.
And and Buddy Roberts, you know, God, kill me.
Now, going back before you got your boots shit in, you and Tatum, and we were talking about Missy and Eddie and being involved in that. Now, after all that happens, you guys get the push, and you defeat the Fantastics for the UWF Tag Team titles.
We did, yeah.
Like a culmination of, wow, here, Tatum and Victory are the #1 team. Now, that moment happens, we know, and I'll get into what's going to happen very soon. But what are you thinking at that moment? Like, everything that you've gone through over the last few years, now you're one of the top tag teams in the entire world.
Not taking anything away from the WWF back then, but that was the #1 territory.
Yes,
at
right.
that era,
that was the
wrestling territory. Didn't care about all the. I mean, there was 15, 16 territories. Watts' territory was popping.
Yep.
You know, and just to get that push of winning the tag team titles was like, you know, we made it. You know, we accomplished our goal. We busted our asses, you know, doing 8 shows a week forever, and then guilty by association.
Now, is there a moment like when you win the belts, you're back home, you got the belt, you know?
We were never allowed to keep the belts.
Really?
No.
Wow,
Watts
okay.
would never. No, Watts was boom. No,
that was smart,
yeah,
right?
You know, as soon as you come off camera, they snatch the belt, stick him in the patch, and it would go to the next show.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he would not. A lot of guys, used to drink and strip poker and lose belts and stuff
like
like
the Texas
that.
title.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
We'll get back to that later. Strap in. This is gonna be good. So, you go back and you sit back. You win the tag belts. Fantastics are one of the best tag teams in the world, and you think, was a thought that went through your mind? Nothing will ruin this for me.
Nothing. No, I'm laying in bed with wife next to me. I'm just like, I'm in top of the world. I said, this is it. I mean, this is our push. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to make tons of money. And then 4 days later, my partner doesn't make the show in Houston.
And it's supposed to be the first title defense, right?
Title defense in Houston. Sold out crowd. Rafters. People just jumping off rafters. And Johnny don't show up.
Now, at that point, you go, shit.
Yeah. Obviously.
Now, what did you do that night? Were you supposed to wrestle the Fantastics whole match?
No, it was a Fantastics match.
Oh.
Yeah. Semi-main.
Sold out house.
Johnny don't show.
Wow. Now, does he just show up? Right? It's not like you have cell phones and you can text, hey, dude, where you at?
No, there was no texting.
It's a driving territory, so it's not like he missed his flight.
Yeah, I mean, he was obviously celebrating a little bit too much and just figured, I'm not going to Houston.
Now, when do you hear from John? Do you hear
2
from him the
days
next
later,
day?
about 2 days later. And
does he
shows up.
apologize?
No, he shows up like everything's normal and everything. And then, the next TV taping in Tulsa, boom. Watts goes, you guys, in the middle, it was Brill.
It was Wild Bill Irwin and Bad Leroy Brown.
Yep.
Who were a throw-together tag team with
Bill was so pissed.
Yeah.
He was so pissed at Johnny.
And it was a famous episode of UWF TV because all three titles changed on that one show.
Bill was
your guys' match was just very quick.
Yep. And it was real quick.
Yeah.
Like not even 10 minutes, right?
No,
just like
not
6
even.
minutes.
One segment, yeah.
And they beat Johnny clean. It was like I don't even think I wrestled. Maybe one or two punches.
Right.
But I was like, okay, here goes my career.
Now, were you surprised that you guys didn't get beat by a babyface tag team to get the big pop,
I think that was Bill's effing.
Like
Bill was like,
it
was like almost like, let me take two guys off the streets. Come in. You want to be champions?
Yeah.
Give it to them. It was like a really. He was pissed.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill. I mean, I love the guy to death. I mean, he gave me my first start and everything, but if you went into a bar and a fight broke out and you lost the fight, you were fired.
Right.
I mean,
heels and baby faces, yeah.
Not Ricky Landell, but Ricky Landell's over there. But what's
Buddy Landell?
Buddy Landell.
Yep.
Was fined like $500 for being late for a show, and he goes up to Bill. He goes, Bill. Please, Bill. And then he put his hands against the wall. He says, just kick me in my nuts, but give me my $500 back.
But you
he was there. Not cutting you off. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but Grizzly Smith.
Yes.
He's the stooge.
Right.
He was the stooge, but love the guy. But he was always telling Bill who was late. He had to.
Yeah.
That was his job.
Right.
So Ricky Landell was late. And
Buddy Landell.
Buddy. Dear Ricky. He was late for that show, and he fined him $500. And oh my God, it was so funny. Please, Bill, kick me in my nuts. just give me my $500 back.
That's great. Now, I'm going to ask you about an urban legend. The wrestling urban legends are legendary, but...
Not true. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm going there. But this is one that doesn't involve you in the urban legend, but maybe you can clarify this. Now, the legend is that one time, Dick Slater beat up Sting, a young Sting, threw his face in the toilet bowl, flushed the toilet bowl, beat the hell out of him.
I was there at Baton Rouge.
Because allegedly, he was caught with Dark Journey, who was romantically involved with Dick Slater, also the booker at the time too.
He had a pencil.
Yeah.
He had a pencil.
And apparently, and this is just rumor, that it really wasn't Sting that was with Dark Journey. Was it you?
No, I'm not. Wait a minute. Let me clarify that.
Now, Dick is not in any shape to
No,
beat you.
the rumor was it was somebody with blonde hair.
Right. Could have been Shane Douglas.
It could have been anybody. Shane Douglas. Could have been me. Well, not me.
Allegedly.
It could have been Sting, which I doubt very much.
Right, he took the beating
Yeah, he took
for
the
it, right?
beating for it.
Now, do you think it was Dick Slater was such a tough guy that Sting didn't fight back, or was it that Dick Slater was the veteran and Sting just said, "I gotta take the shit kicking for not having sex with Dark Journey"?
Sting back then is not the Sting of today.
Right,
Sting back then was in the business 3 years.
Yeah.
With not even the Ultimate Warrior. It was with
Rock, they were the Blade Runners.
The Rock.
Yep.
Yes, they were the Blade Runners.
Yes.
Watts started them too.
Yep.
Horrible workers. But
did you get to work with them much before Warrior went to Texas?
I worked with Warrior in Texas a couple times, but no, Sting got broken away.
Yes, yeah.
Because
and
Warrior,
they
because
put
he
him
was
with
so
Eddie,
bad.
Yeah.
So I mean, God bless him, but
Right.
he was bad. He was horrible. Good gimmick, horrible worker.
Right. And
Yeah.
now Sting makes leaps and bounds of improvement with
Right.
Eddie. Now, is that just because Eddie Gilbert was such a great wrestling mind,
God.
and
Just
you're working 8 times a week that by osmosis you're getting better and better?
People. Well, I mean, obviously you got the push in the job. There's not many guys in this business that have it.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of guys that will follow guys that have it, but there's not a lot of guys that have it.
Right.
You know, that vision it and know it. Eddie Gilbert was unfriggin' believable.
Right. And do you think that really helped Sting? Because that territory was, a brutal territory for travel and 8 matches a week.
Right.
But you were learning from yourself, John Tatum, Eddie Gilbert, Ted DiBiase, Steve Williams, Terry Taylor, Jim Duggan. You were learning not only from great wrestlers, but different styles of wrestling.
Right.
And he adapted.
He did, and he learned.
Yes.
He actually. I'm not saying, F you. I don't want to learn from you. He learned.
Right.
He learned, and he, where some guys don't care.
Yeah.
And you can see his work, and you can see how much he achieved in this business by sitting down and learning.
Yeah.
Eddie Gilbert was incredible.
Yeah.
Mastermind.
Yeah.
Not as good as you.
Oh.
Big Pop. Huh? Don't you say bullshit.
Now, you guys leave UWF and you go back to Texas. Now, there's a couple of weird things that I had read, and I never got to ask you this because I haven't seen you in so long. You're with Fritz for a while, and then you're also working Wild West Wrestling, which at the time were they loosely connected, and then there was a break, or do you remember the circumstance? Was it Ken Mantell then again?
They pissed Ken Mantell off, and
because he had went back to Fritz, right?
Ken Mantell, I wish he was still alive because he would. He was an unbelievable booker. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable. And they pissed him off.
Right, because he had taken
and
everybody.
He goes, I'll go across town 30 miles to Fort Worth and start Wild West Wrestling. Yes.
Now, it's so crazy how the wrestling industry is that Ken Mantell leaves Fritz, takes a bunch of guys to Watts.
Right.
Then leaves Watts, goes back to Fritz.
Absolutely.
Who he raped for talent. And then they piss him off, and he goes, I'm just going to start my own shit 30 miles from here. Absolutely. Like, how wild is that?
Wild West.
How crazy is that for you? Because you're with Fritz, and then you say, and then for a while you were working both, and then do you actually leave Fritz to go?
I think me and Johnny said, God, we got to work. We got to go with the talent. We got to go with the pencil, because he was so talented. And we did okay, but it never took off.
Right now, and you when you went back to Texas after the UWF run, it was way different than when you were there the first time.
Yeah.
Now, here you are in Dallas working for Fritz again, and it's the Von Erichs are just passing away, and it's not the same as they were rock stars when you were there the first time, and now people are starting to get smart too. They are human, and they are making mistake after mistake. And, you know, Carrie's in bad shape, and Kevin's in bad shape with the concussions. Mike had just died. Were you there when Mike died?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Now, what was the atmosphere like? Like, oh shit, another Von Erich died, or was it a man? Did you realize? Like, now we talk about like it was a territory that was cursed, but because so many wrestlers had died, but like the houses aren't the same.
Right.
Obviously, the money probably isn't the same, right?
Right.
It
was in shambles. It really was.
What was the feeling like? Do you think they were going to get it together?
David died before Mike.
Right, 84, right.
You know, and then it was just like it was like a pitfall. Just you could feel it. The tensions going down and down and down and down. And then when Mike died, it was like Mike was the baby.
Yes.
You know, it was like. I mean, that just
burst the bubble. All the sickness.
It was like that. That was the, Fritz. I never saw him again.
Right.
Never saw him. He was always coming, and doing meetings and stuff like that. But we never saw him after that. It was like
Gary Hart was around so much at that point. Now, does Gary try and keep it together? Because there's another guy that just talks so good about you that
great guy.
He would say,
Akbar too.
Jackie Victory,
God forbid,
I could go to Jack about anything, and he'd get it over.
But he managed a one-man gang, and for some reason I pissed somebody off because Gang beat the crap out of me.
I'm gonna ask
Gang
in an interview.
Yes. Are you doing an
interview?
with?
Yeah.
Well,
I'll ask him.
Just tell him I hate his guts, and I probably still have 3 or 4 lumps on there. Every time he picked me up, he goes, "Victory!" Bam! I was like, "Come on, Gang, please. What I do wrong?"
Now, how was your relationship with Gary Hart? Did you realize like at this point, like
he was my manager when we did. I mean, we did big shows in Texas.
Right.
We did the. I wrestled Brian Adams. No, not Brian.
Brian Adidas.
Brian Adidas in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
And Gary was my manager.
Now, was that the Mike Von Erich
championship? Yep.
Yeah, that was the Mike Von Erich thing.
Yep. And then
for the Texas heavyweight title.
Yep.
What happened to that belt?
Oh God. Really? You want to go there?
Now, is it true that you left? Did you give it away or did you leave it at the bar?
I gave it away.
Did you?
I gave it away to a young little kid.
That's amazing.
Good friends of mine. I don't know if they have it still. Probably worth tons of money.
And how did you cover it up? Did you say?
Well, that's when.
Here you go, kiddo.
That's when.
That was a beautiful belt too.
It was a beautiful belt. Probably didn't fit around my waist, but yeah. Beautiful.
Now, did you go back in the office and say, "Somebody stole my belt"?
God, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
What did they say? You're gonna lose it?
They were
Did you
hot.
blame it on
They were
Tatum?
pretty hot. Yeah, they were pretty hot.
Yeah.
But he had the belt.
Yeah.
My buddy's kid.
Nice
Texas
guy.
heavyweight cheaper than
It had been around for 15, 20 years.
It was a nice belt.
It was. Now, around 88 and stuff like that, you and Tatum, you don't have a breakup, you don't have a feud and stuff like that. You kind of go your separate ways. What were the circumstances there? Was it that you guys have gone as far as you could as a team, or did you ever have plans of like, hey, maybe we can go to the NWA? Crockett had just started on the thing to sell to.
Back then you were just so happy to have a job,
right?
And doing what you love to do.
Yeah.
Would I have loved to end up in Vince's? Yes, of course.
But did you see you and Johnny as a team going there, or a team to the NWA, or did you know that like you've gone as far as you can go with John, and that you need to go?
No. I could have wrestled 20 years with John.
Right.
It was just a time to try different things. Could we have ended up that? Maybe. You never know. And it was just time to go our separate ways.
Now I'm going to backtrack real quick before we go into NWA stuff and WCW stuff. You go for a while as the flag bearer of the Sheep Herders.
Yes.
With Luke Williams and Butch Miller. How does that come about? You've been a wrestler and stuff, and then when did they say, Jack, we have this role for you that you're going to be the flag bearer of these New Zealand heels?
Well, a lot of people think I was the original, which
right.
I wasn't.
And I was very surprised.
And it was Johnny Ace,
right.
Which everybody knows.
They usually flip-flop the two, yeah.
Right. He was actually the first guy, and he only lasted, so long, and they gave me that gimmick, and we ran with that for 2 years.
Right, and one of the famous matches in that time was Sheep Herders and Jack Victory against the Fantastics and Terry Taylor in the barbed wire match.
First ever televised barbed wire, and it was made out of wood.
Yes.
Did you? Oh my goodness, a cheap ass Bill Watts. It was like, no, I ain't gonna do a barbed wire in a cage. It's gonna be barbed wire in a wood.
Now, is that like Luke Williams' idea? Like, does Luke say, "Oh, you know what? Maybe I got this."
We took that gimmick everywhere and sold. I mean, literally sold out buildings where there was lines wrapped around the building.
And it's crazy to think that the three baby faces you're working are the three pretty boys.
Right.
That you would not, girls don't want to see Terry Taylor's face get scarred up.
We were all so green to it because no one had ever done it.
Right.
The bushwhackers, the Sheep Herders did barbed wires in Puerto Rico, but they would just wrap
just the ropes. Yes, yeah.
They would never have this little gimmick, and it got over so well on TV. I mean, it literally was the first barbed wire wood cage match.
Yeah.
And it got over so well, so we took it everywhere. I mean, Bill tried to double book it. It went over really, really well. So we were main event everywhere in that match. And it was just, you still have scars.
Right. It's just
from
wild.
Every time you touch it, you bleed. You know that. Everybody, it was brutal.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get
accustomed to it, right?
We were like 3 weeks into it, and
Butch?
Bobby.
Oh,
Bobby looks at me and goes, dude, Bill's gonna book us some more on this shit. I was like, we're all, literally just cut up. But it was good times, man. It was nice selling, when you know that you're the headliner.
Yeah.
And you're,
And now when you're the headliner, there's way more money. So you're putting your body through all this and the scars and everything like that. But at the end of the week, you're getting main event money. And
absolutely.
Does the end justify the means at that point, or you
really
just
don't
love
care?
It? Right, exactly.
You don't care.
You're a part of something, right?
It's like if you've never been in this business, you will never know about this business. That me and you would probably do a match for free.
Yeah,
exactly. It's in your blood.
Yeah,
it's in your blood. And
you wrestled tonight for the first night in 12 years, 13 years.
I was just yes. No, it was fun. It was fun. I didn't blow up, which was great.
I was blown sky high.
Were you really?
Yeah, and
I'm better shape than you.
Yeah, George South is way better shape than all of us.
What an awesome promo.
Oh,
better than you.
Way better than me.
Vince should have hired him.
Listen, Lanny Poffo.
Triple H, if you're listening. George South.
So, going back at the end of '88, you start in Atlanta for the NWA, and they're going through another transition period.
Yes,
you are in so many. Your timeline.
Well, Dusty brings me in as the wrestler. The Russian Assassin number 2.
Right.
I'm in Texas, and Dusty calls me, and he goes. And then I hang up because I don't think it's Dusty.
Because everybody can do Dusty's voice.
Really.
Yeah.
Stop K5ing me. It's like click. But then he calls back and he goes, "No, dude, we want to bring you in as wrestling the Russian Assassin number 2. We want you and David.
The Angel of Death. Yes.
Angel of Death. Wrestle Nikita and Ivan and do double chain matches and scaffold matches and thank God David did 90% of the scaffold matches before I got there.
Right. Him and Ivan would do them with the Warriors.
And I remember, where did I start? I did a run-in. It was in Georgia somewhere to introduce me to that, and it was just, those guys were so great.
Now, did you know Dusty, besides growing up a wrestling fan, and did you get a lot of exposure to Dusty, in a locker room? Like, did he come into Watts a couple times while you were there, right?
He did, yeah.
And then, by the time that Crockett had taken over the UWF, you were already back in Texas.
Right.
So, what was your, did you have a little bit of a relationship, or he knew you from...
He just, I don't think he knew me personally, but the other guys in the locker room said, "Oh, Jack would be perfect for the gimmick, the Russian Assassin too."
Right.
And obviously you don't turn a role like that down.
Now, do you have a conversation with Tatum and say, "Hey, look, I just got this opportunity"? And
We were broke up. Yeah, we were already broke up.
Okay.
Yeah, we were already.
So it was an easy transition over to Atlanta.
It was. Yeah.
You go to Atlanta and
see Johnny. A lot of people don't know that Johnny, in a back road of Louisiana, tried to pass somebody and had a head-on collision.
Oh, yes.
And had to be dug out of the trunk.
Right.
So Johnny was done.
Right, that's
for
right.
months and months. So he had a bad accident with his girl, and he was done. Dude, he was.
Was I wrong? Did somebody die in that, right? Or did?
No, she didn't die. No, she was in.
Somebody in the other car died?
In the other car.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
the driver of the other car died. But Johnny, both of them were cut out of the trunk. Mm-hmm. Literally, and I went and saw him in Shreveport, and I was like, "Oh, he ain't gonna make it."
Right.
It was bad.
Wow.
So we were done.
Right.
There was no Johnny Tatum anymore. He was not working anymore.
Right.
So yeah, I was.
So you were on your own.
I was trying to find a gimmick. I was, and then I got that phone call.
Wow. So now a lot of people.
Which
a trivia question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. But I have to. Angel of Death was in Texas,
right?
Before he went, and he was
yeah.
the big push, to bring me in.
Oh, nice.
So
now, one of the things that people love, a trivia question, is you worked twice on a pay-per-view under two different gimmicks for WCW.
Yeah.
You did.
Oh, no, go ahead. Sorry.
You did Russian Assassin number 2, and then you worked as yourself.
No. It was a Black Mauler.
Was it Black Mauler? I thought it was Jack Victory and...
Was it two hoods?
No, I think it was one. One is yourself and two. Somebody Google that.
Somebody Google it,
Somebody
please.
Google that. And I want to say is it...
It was in Chicago.
So it's Chi-Town Heat. Chi-Town Heat 89, anyone?
Anyone. I wrestled Michael Hayes, but I did work twice.
Yeah, you wrestled Michael Hayes in his Russian Assassin.
My biggest payoff ever.
No, did you? That's what I want to ask. Did you get two payoffs for it?
I did. I got two payoffs.
Wow.
It was like...
Do you remember the circumstances why you had to work twice? Did somebody not show up?
Someone didn't show.
Oh my goodness, I know what it was. Here it is.
You do?
No Google. It was Dennis Condrey quitting, and you had to wrestle with Randy Rose against Bobby and Stan.
That's
and
it.
Paulie in your corner.
And I was no hood.
No hood.
And
you were
then
Jack
I went
Victory.
back as the Russian assassin against Michael Hayes.
Yes.
Or it was the Black Mauler.
No, I think it was the Russian Assassin.
It was Russian Assassin.
It was?
Thank you, John Schuyler.
Replace Dennis.
Go Russian.
Yes.
Oh,
yes. So yeah, you replaced it.
Right, I replaced somebody, and it was an honor.
Yeah.
It was an honor for them to say, "Would you like to work twice on a pay-per-view?" I was like,
Did
really?
you know that day, or did you know going in, or you just happened to have Jack Victory gear with you?
Well, you always carry 2 gears.
Wow.
You always do, yeah. But it was like, let me think about that for like 30 seconds. Yes. Yeah. Obviously, you were on to work. Even though Ricky Landell made a smart-ass remark today at the bar about he knew it was me because of my ass. And how rude. Right? I am never going to work his show again in New Jersey. I just wanted to let you know that.
Hell with your fundraiser. Fundraiser.
Hell with your fundraiser. Yes. Yeah.
So, you work you work 2 matches. Now, you just happen to have Jack Victory gear. Is that something that a lot of guys, even in that time, would not have had a second
Probably.
a second gimmick and like, wow, look at Jack Victory. He's our go-to guy. Because quickly after that, you become, and I swear it was the shortest gimmick, and I've always wanted to ask you because it was one of my favorites. Soon the 900 line comes in, and Paulie is on the phone, and he's talking about Secret Service Jack Victory. And you would, how did Secret Service come up?
It never took off, but
no, it could have done so much with it.
It could have been, but it was so great.
Ah,
it was so awesome.
Now, was it Paulie that came up with that idea?
Well, obviously,
yeah.
Brain surgeon of wrestling, Paulie. Yeah, I mean,
Jacko, I got this idea.
He goes, I got an idea. You just wear a whole gimmick, blah 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 blah, and all you do is this. And then talk into him. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Amazing. Yeah, I think I was 16 at the time.
I'm behind Paulie,
and me and my friends would do it. We're like, they'd say something. Secret Service, Steve Corino. And I thought it was such a brilliant character.
God damn, I would love to do this for like 10 years, you know? But, you know, I mean...
Yeah, now once again, you become that go-to guy, and they transition you with Rip Morgan.
Right.
And
and that was the best.
At first, you are the New Zealand militia, correct? Right. Who decides that all of a sudden we're just going to put an O at the end of your first name, and you're going to become Jacko Victory, which everybody calls you Jacko now.
Right, yeah.
Does somebody creative say, was Flair booking at the time?
No.
Because Dusty had already gone to New York.
I forget who was... No, it was Kevin.
Kevin Sullivan.
Maybe it was Kevin. It was Kevin, man. I think it was Kevin.
He says,
was Kevin
Jacko?
Here?
Yes.
Can you bring him back?
Oh, we could text him.
Yeah,
Jacko,
maybe.
my boy. You know.
Right.
Oh, what a great man he is. He's like
I think it might have been Kevin.
He decides to put you and Rip Morgan together as the New Zealand militia. Now, was the idea that the sheep herders are gone? They're the bushwhackers in New York. Was the idea that, man, these two could be like the new sheep herders, right?
I mean, Rip was Butch's nephew.
Right. Okay.
They
also was a flag bearer.
He was a flag bearer back in the day too. Very short, but yeah. I mean, it was over.
Yes.
I mean, it was over. And then we decided to go with the royal family.
Now, do you believe that the New Zealand militia had legs to become a newer sheep herders to, fans that just watched WWF at the time? They only knew the Bushwhackers as Bushwhackers. They didn't realize they were this sadistic, violent tag team that drew blood and money everywhere.
Right.
Do you think the Devil's idea was, man, I can make these guys, but now wrestling's starting to turn corporate?
Yeah.
If the idea would have came in '87, do you believe that you guys would have more legs to become that new sheep herders?
Well, it's always the power of the pencil, dude. I mean, I thought it was a great gimmick. Mm-hmm. I thought it could have went, but...
And you guys were having great matches, and you're in that middle part.
We're working the Animal and Hawk.
We had Steiners.
Yeah, we had the Steiners, and...
Oh, it's great, and it's a great middle team.
Right.
Like you were in the middle of the card. You were beating the guys below you, but losing to the guys, and you had that legitimacy that if you beat the Steiners, people would have went. Ugh.
And that was the time where we were working for TBS now.
Yes, yeah.
Because Crockett's were out of there. They sold it to Ted Turner. It was TBS, and it was the first time we signed contracts.
That's what I was going to ask.
It was like, I don't have to work. And I still get paid?
Right. Now,
really?
Now you're on a weekly guarantee.
Now we're on a weekly guarantee.
How does that change your mindset of, oh my goodness, I'm going to get paid whether there's 15,000 people or 1,500?
And it was so funny that, now they signed like 100 guys.
Yeah.
And you were lucky to be on TV. Yeah. There was 80 guys being paid just to stay home. We always stayed on. We was always on TV and stuff like that. But it was like, you don't have to work.
Right.
And you're getting paid.
Yeah, like if they say, hey guys, you got 4 weeks of vacation, you're like, yes.
Really?
As opposed to 3.
Are we on TV tonight? No? Really? Okay, good.
Yeah, let's
go to the
on
pool.
TV. Yeah.
It was like...
Let me pour a drink.
Never, and, the bottom contracts were like $150,000.
Oh.
So, it was like,
this is
really?
Really, don't say, and I hate when people say that was good money back then.
It was good money back then.
Oh my God, it's good money now, right?
It was like,
is that good money now?
It's great money.
Yeah, it's great
money.
money. Yeah. So you're on these contracts and stuff. Now, the New Zealand militia runs its course a little bit. So in those days, you're on contract. So instead of them sending you somewhere,
Right.
they decide to change you.
Right.
Do you remember who came up with the royal family?
I don't know, but I'm still pissed off about them not pushing that gimmick.
It was great with Lord
I
Littlebrook.
mean, we tore the houses down.
Yeah.
We were taking it back from back then. You don't ever want to outshine the main event.
Yep.
But sometimes it's like it's gonna.
Yeah.
But as soon as me, Rip, and Littlebrook walked out, it was like whoosh.
Right.
They loved the midget.
Yeah.
They loved him.
It was a fun team to boo, but you could cheer them. Yeah.
With our gimmicks and everything, it was like, and then they saw it like being over, and they just botched us.
Now, do you think that was a time where now you see a transition in the wrestling industry, as opposed to if they see you getting over in 84, 85, 86, 87, they say, man, we gotta jump on that because we're gonna make money. Now we're in corporate wrestling and we have a plan,
right?
And if it's not part of the plan, we're gonna squash it down because we're not prepared to write this part.
I don't think it was corporate. I thought it was jealousy.
Yeah.
In the other times, I mean, they were bringing Japanese guys over,
Yeah.
and pushing them.
Yep.
And it didn't happen. It wasn't our time, and it's all timing.
Yes.
Wrestling is all timing.
Absolutely.
And it just didn't happen. And Rip got discouraged, and that's when we really broke up. Pretty much right after that, and he went back to New Zealand. I just think if we would have just got a little push,
it would have had some legs.
it would have had, yeah.
Now, when do you finish up with WCW? Because for a while you went a different route, right?
Yeah, I mean, when Rip was getting homesick, he wanted to go back, and I was like, well, let's. There was a wrestling tournament, and we were doing
NWA World Tag Tournament.
It was
right?
probably,
Yeah.
and we had to do a job to the Japanese team, and Rip was not happy. He says, "Not doing it." So we got in and it was probably the first time in so many years that we actually put our foot down and say, at least put us through the first round.
Right. Yeah.
Don't
we're
knock
your
us
guys.
out.
Yeah.
You're bringing these guys from Japan, and we had to put them over. And Rip was not happy, and he goes, "I'm going home."
Now, did you understand at the time that WCW? Now it's WCW. Did you understand at that time where you like nowadays with the internet and the Wrestling Observer and stuff like that, you found out that New Japan Pro Wrestling was paying WCW
to bring those guys.
Bring those
but
guys
there really
in.
wasn't no internet still.
Right. So are you guys knowing that, wow, New Japan's paying WCW? Or is it that, I don't get it, no one knows these guys?
No one knows, I mean, that's how we acted.
Okay.
That's how it was like, why are they pushing these guys?
Right.
But they were being paid, like you said.
Right.
To bring their boys over to get on TV and
to
bring them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's weird hindsight being
If
2020.
they would have just came and told us that,
right,
it would have been a different story. Instead of I mean, it's all.
It's so funny to think that you would be the guy that say, you know what, I don't think this is right. I've never seen you as that guy.
No, I never in my career.
There were times in ECW
I never won a match in my life. Never won a match in my life, but we knew we had something going.
Right.
And just to squash us in the first round of that tournament, it was like heartbreaking. It was like Rip goes, "I'm leaving."
Right. And
done.
It's so funny because like in ECW, there were times when I would come to you and I said, I think they're screwing us. I think, like we have this value and he's killing us. And, and you'd say, Stevie, just wait. We got this. You're like, ride it out. It's going to be, sunshine is coming, and I'd be like, and then sunshine would come and be like, Jack Victory. Like if I would have just yelled at Paul and it would have been ruined.
No, it was like a flat tire. No one wants a flat tire when you're driving to Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
And it was just like, dude, we're really going out in the first round, major tournament.
Yeah.
Huge, huge. So we threw it. We threw the hat in.
Now, did you end up? I can't remember. Did you guys end up doing the match and then quitting?
We did.
Okay,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
obviously
you did
we
business,
put. Yeah, we would never. Yeah, we would never go that way.
Now, are you tired of wrestling at this point, right? Because you leave wrestling for a
Doing
while,
it-
right?
Yeah,
Or you're
I've
doing
done
some
it about
indies.
10 years, nonstop, So I broke off and Rip went back home. We did some indie shows around Georgia and stuff like that, and I stayed in Georgia. Got hooked up with bars, and I was managing nightclubs and stuff like that for about 5-6 years, and then hooked up with Tommy Dreamer and Paulie.
Now, how does that, like, you're out for 5 or 6 years, like, in this thing, like, this weekend is your first time back in, like, 12 years.
Oh, yeah, it's been
and
a
it's
long
so funny
time.
that the second you are back in the atmosphere, you're Jack Victory again.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people are like, Jacko, where you been? But 5 minutes later, they're talking to you like they saw you last weekend.
Right.
What was it like that at that time? Did you miss wrestling, or was it you were already into something else that when wrestling came back, it was like, okay, I'm back in. Because you went back right in, like.
I'm never addicted to any kind of hard drugs or anything, but wrestling's a drug.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
All the boys know that. Once you go through that curtain and you get that pop, it's like it goes through your blood veins. It's like a high.
Yeah.
And you always want it. It's like a drug. And I missed it. I missed it a lot.
Yeah.
And none of the boys, if they tell you no, I never missed it, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because
that's why they come to these conventions. They say they're going to make money, but
right.
they want that.
They want
adulation.
that pop. They want people to recognize them, and
Yeah.
there's nothing better than going through that curtain and having a sold out crowd.
Yes.
There's nothing better.
That's great. Now it's funny you say you hook up with Dreamer and Paulie. Paulie had, and even to this day when I talk to Paul, it's hey, when was the last time you talked to Jack Victory? Like, Paul is a lot of different things, but when he loves somebody, he will do whatever he can to find something. And here you haven't been on TV for 5 years,
Right,
6
right.
years, and right away. And was it just Dreamer was a fan of yours, right?
Yeah, he was. He
He
was.
wanted to work with
we
you,
had
right?
a great. We had a great meeting.
Yeah.
Great meeting.
And how does that come up? Does Paulie say, "Hey, we're in Atlanta. I know Jack Victory, and I think Jack
It was
Victory." and you-"
Marietta. Yeah, Marietta. They came to Marietta, sold out, and I was with Billy Edie.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yep.
Billy Edie.
And we were like, what in the hell is,
Yeah.
really? Because I've been out 5 years, and when I'm out 5 years, I'm not watching it.
Right.
And then this ECW hits the mainstream, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
It blew me away.
And it blew you and Bill away in different ways. Like,
Like,
you were
Bill
you
was
were
like, he
intrigued.
was ready
Bill
to,
was like, whoa.
yeah, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
So we had a meeting backstage, and I was like, dude, I'm ready to leave the bar scene, in Atlanta. And they offered me a job, and, I was happy.
Right. And it starts off you and Dreamer, so you're coming in
Yeah.
right near the top, and then tragedy happens. New Orleans,
Yeah.
pay-per-view.
About 4 or 5 months into it, I broke my knee.
It broke your, and it's one of the most disgusting. It's
it was
right on
really
there,
bad, yeah.
Joe Theismann,
Yeah, it was
and
really bad.
and something, yeah.
I blew the back of the whole knee joint out in 7 places.
And it was because did Jake miss you?
No,
or
it was mine.
It was
me.
all you.
It was
Okay,
all
see,
me.
that was
Yeah.
always the
No one ever tried to hurt me.
right.
Yeah,
it
no,
was
no,
Jake
no.
messed. There was always the
No,
Jake
no,
messed
no,
up
it
or
was
something
me.
like that.
It was
and
me.
you never blamed
Yeah,
him. That
no,
was
I
the funny
never.
thing.
No, it was me.
And
Yeah.
it just going over the top
I
rope.
just landed on this knee with all my weight, and it just compressed, and it just blew the back of the knee joint. Yeah.
And you knew you were in trouble, right?
I would, and I tried to get back in, but that was like 37 seconds into the match.
Yes, yeah.
It was like the boom, 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 doom, and I was done.
You were like the baby deer,
it was
yeah.
done.
Now at that point, do you go, man, my career's over? Like,
I said, oh man, I should have stayed at the bar. Should have stayed at the bar. Had naked women.
Yeah.
I should have stayed at the bar.
no, I started coming in around that a little after that.
Yes.
And so I'm a fan of Jack Victory as a kid. you know, and you're back and you're on the crutches and stuff like that. And Nova had helped me get in, not knowing that like you would drive with Nova to the arenas in the towns, you know, whether it was Florida or Dayton, Ohio. You didn't care. You were just I'm along for the ride, and I thought it was so cool. Do you remember the first rib you played on me? I knew you.
Well, I played a lot of ribs.
What the first? The first time I go, and we were going to Dayton, Ohio. We were coming home. Randy, the sound guy, and I think it was his wife, Nicole. Is they still together?
They're still together? No, they love each other.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
She's gorgeous.
She put up with him.
Right. And Nova.
He owns Retro Fitnesses in New Jersey. Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, 5 of them.
Yeah, 5.
And Nova, of course.
Right.
I want to say there's one other New Jersey guy, maybe Bill Wiles.
Bill Wiles.
Bill Wiles, and you. And we're in Randy's camper.
Right.
And we're going to these shows, and Nova said, "Here, you can ride with us, save some money." Because at the time ECW wasn't doing very well, so we were.
We didn't do it for the money.
Right. Obviously,
obviously, we did not do it for the money back then.
At the time, the checks were bouncing, and
we got paid on a regular basis in the beginning. It was probably 6 months down the road before they started bouncing.
These were the first time for me.
Oh, they bounced for you?
As soon as I came in.
For me.
Yeah, because you guys always made it to that bank, remember? Mm-hmm. You guys were always there first.
Yeah.
I would drive from Pennsylvania to New Jersey, meet you guys so I could get my check cashed. And like I would be the last in the line. They were like, "Sorry."
The window, the curtain go down.
Sorry, Mr. Taz just took the last $3,000. Shit! How am I supposed to cash my $75?
Yeah.
And so we're driving and nobody falls asleep. Nobody falls asleep. All right, cool. But you get tired. And I swear that you set me up. I'm watching your eyes go, and I'm watching everybody else fall asleep. And then I'm like, as I fall asleep, and then it was everybody let out a scream and Randy hit the brakes.
Oh, and the truck was
I remember that. There was a tractor. It was a tractor trailer of the car
being towed.
It's like you guys waited.
Yeah.
The cars are being towed, so the car is facing you, and Randy hits his brakes.
And you're thinking you're gonna smash.
And you guys all yell, and I yell up, and I yelled with the biggest girly scream. I'm like, ah! Like I thought we were all dead, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, that's Jack, and everybody's laughing at me. I'm like, oh, Jack Victory got me. So around this time, I'm still like a young guy. I'm trying not to get heat. Bubba hates me. Taz hates me. Like everybody hates me. Like, but you were nice to me. You and Tracy Smothers were, and Shane Douglas.
Oh, where's Tracy? He didn't show tonight.
I heard. I wanted to see him. All you guys, only you three guys were like nice to me. Like Justin Credible was nice to me when no one else was around. Like, oh man, I was the kid with marker on my face, and he knew it. And I didn't do anything to cause it. It's just they hated me. So Balls was nice to me because I had known Balls from the Indies. So I have a match with Balls in the ECW arena in '99, and the only thing he goes, "What do you want to do? I want to help you get over." I said, "Balls, I have this idea. I am going to," because he had the chair shot, "I am going to put the chair down and I am going to put you in a chin lock." I said, "Everybody's going to boo. You'll knock me down, super kick, chair shot, 1, 2, 3. But at that time, I had never taken a Balls Mahoney chair shot before in my life. So as he does it, and I get the big reaction from the ECW crowd for putting Balls Mahoney in a chin lock on a chair.
Right.
He fucking crowns me with this chair shot, but I put my head down, and he hits me so hard that it wraps around. And like, you know where like fans, like if you're watching, where the back of a hat goes around this thing, it hit me right across that line. And for 3 weeks, I was swollen. I couldn't wear a hat, and I used to love to wear hats. I still do, but I want to show everybody how proud and gray I am. So like I'm like, oh my god, like, and then I'm like, oh, okay, it's easy. We have the pay-per-view in Asbury Park. I'm not on that, and then we have like 2 weeks off. And I'm like, I can get over this cool concussion that I've gotten. Yay! And at the time, I was still working at the dairy, so like, you know, I'm working a 39-degree thing with putting cases of milk on a conveyor. Like, what is this feeling I'm having? Oh, it's concussion syndrome. But the next week we're in Asbury Park, and it was you and Randy that say, hey, you're on the pay-per-view tonight. I'm like, oh, that Jack Victory with me before. I'm like, against who? And it was like his music had come on. He comes through the curtain. He goes, it's me and you on the pay-per-view. Oh, it's the same exact match.
They love that chair.
And all I kept thinking was, oh my God, there is no way I can take this chair shot again because my head is just, it hurts so bad. And you say, this is the first time you like sit beside me, you go, you scared? I go, yeah. And you go, pay-per-view debut. And remember Jasmine St. Clair was just I don't know what she was doing, but she was like, she knew I was young and getting divorced and just a guy that just likes missionary sex, has no idea about pornography. And she just sees a young person that needs to be kicked. And she just would shit talk me the whole day. I'm like, my whole life's ruining.
We saw pictures of her before.
Right? This cool this cool porn star is just ribbing me to death. I'm about to walk to the ring, debuting on pay-per-view with a concussion, and I'm taking the same exact chair shot. This is where I die. Like, I'm looking out at the ocean. I'm like, but you sat down, you go, are you nervous? I go, yeah. You go, first time on pay-per-view? I go, yeah, but I'm not nervous about that. And they go, all right, awesome. They're showing me a picture. Jasmine, who is an absolute sweetheart, by the way. If you ever get a chance to talk to Jasmine St. Clair, an absolute sweetheart, you know?
You can keep it.
No, really, you can have it back.
I have 3 copies. So, you know, she's ribbing me, and you say, the chair shot. I go, yeah, and you give me the greatest advice to this, which ends up being on the beginning of the TV up until we think of yourself like a football player. You want to keep your head up, and you know he's going to hit you with that super kick, but you sell your face and keep your chin up because you want to take that chair shot. And these are in the days that, especially a young guy who has tons of heat in the locker room.
Tons.
Thanks for reiterating. Tons of heat in the locker room. Do you remember Bubba saying, why are you talking to Jasmine St. Clair? There was nothing you could do to her that would please her. I'm like, why do you hate me so much, Bubba? Like, I hated life. Yeah, Colby's mom and who I was getting. I needed something to go my way, and you gave it to me. You said, keep your chin up, and everything will go fine. And it ends up people talk about this chair shot 17 years later. And
it was a lot harder, right? But it was...
It hurt, but it was so much safer.
Yeah.
But like nowadays, you can't. If you do an unprotected chair shot on television or on a show, the internet will. They will. You would think that you're a boy toucher of 14-year-old kids. You know, it's right along that same lines of what an asshole you really are. So I'm thinking, and it kept it like I lived, and. So I'm like, man.
And that was it was his hometown.
It was, and that's what you said.
Lord, it was like, I mean, he's going to,
and we can't say the R word anymore in thing, but you said, man, this R word is cranked up when it's not his hometown. I want you to be prepared that this R word is going to bring it.
Yeah, he's going to bring it.
And he did.
He did.
But it was so much safer, and I thought, man, you didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Like, no one else was going to save me in that position. They were all going to let me just get concussed even more. And I thought, man, that was, you know, if I ever have the chance to help a young guy out that's got tons of heat in the locker room, John Schuyler, I will.
I heard that.
You're a big heater. That's
why
I love him.
Let's turn the whole interview to him.
Yeah. And and I love him because he just speaks his mind.
Tons of heat.
Oh, he's awesome.
I heard they call him Spider-Man. That's his new gimmick, Spider-Man.
Now, like you're the guy I'm latching to, and I don't know if you've taken a liking to me, or you feel bad for me, but all of a sudden, you would spend more time giving me quick little. And it's always joke like, "Hey, sell this, boom," or "Do this," or "Oh, it was good." And Tommy Rich is telling me to burn my boots every match. Like, yeah, no one's talking to me, but like all of a sudden I noticed that New Jack's not looking at me like he's going to murder me.
Right.
Bubba's still being a jerk to me, but Shane Douglas is giving me a second of his time. Dreamer is giving me, like, Dreamer was always, he was just,
Yeah, the Dreamer loved everybody.
he didn't hate me, but he didn't like me.
You're right.
Like,
Yeah.
I was no one to him. But he's giving me, all right, Joker, like, I'm going to wrestle you on a house show and let's see how it goes, because all of a sudden you were giving me a little bit of time. And I thought, this is so cool. Jack Vickery doesn't know me, but he saved my life, and now he's like, he's pretty cool to me. Paul comes up to us and says, hey, I have this idea. It's one night only, because Paul was a fan of the Ron Wright angle of, was it Dirty White Boy? Or somebody in old Tennessee would roll Ron Wright out to the ring, and Ron Wright would get out of the wheelchair and beat up the babyface, and then get back and then say on promos, I'm just a cripple. I'm just crippled. Yeah.
Just crippled.
So he says, all these guys, I was setting up all these guys for Taz to beat. And he says, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do, I think it was Detroit the first night, Chicago the next. And the first initial idea was I would wheel you out, and Rhino, who was just debuting, Rhino would get killed by Taz. With the idea that the next night in Chicago, I would wheel you out and you would get killed by Taz.
Right.
But by this time we were joking around, and Paul sees something in us that we conveyed this chemistry out there on that first night of me and you together, that we come back and he goes, yeah, scrap that for tomorrow. Tom Marquez gets killed. You two will never break up.
You'll stay in the wheelchair until you're dead.
Yes.
It's like, really?
Yeah. And we would have to take this match. And
they're thinking about all kinds of bumps. They're like, I'm going to take you and just wheel you and shove you, and you're going to hit the ropes. I'm going to throw the chair out. I mean, it was just like.
Now, did you know at that time that, like, we had something? Or is it, like, something that Paul saw in us, like, hey, these guys kind of goop around in the locker room.
And people love it. Yeah.
I'm going to see if they can put that on screen. And we took what was going on in the locker room and we made it, 10 times more on screen. Now, did you see that happening? Or is that something that, if a few weeks go by, if people start reacting to it?
I didn't feel it until, It was 2 or 3 weeks before, I was like, really? I have to go out there in a friggin' wheelchair?
Yeah, and remember how many we would break? Because...
Right. Really? You want me to go out there? I broke my knee.
Yes.
And you want me to still work?
Yeah.
But then, obviously the pop.
Yes.
It was like, oh, I feel it now.
And we're getting this heel heat, and then we're doing these.
Because I was out for at least 6 months.
At least, yeah. And you still didn't have a lot of mobility left, so it was so good that you could interfere and throw the punch, and then. Then we started working with Dreamer on the house shows, and like it was getting over, and we're doing this stuff on TV with Taz, and
what pay-per-view was when Taz grabbed me, and he started running down the ramp, and stopped, and I hit the ropes, and he picked the chair up. What
was it?
Pay-per-view was that?
Because he worked with Tajiri.
Yep, I put him over bigger than anybody.
Right.
Yeah, no, just kidding.
Yeah, he worked with Tajiri on the pay-per-view, and that's when he did the long run with the ramp, and you did the thing. And, of course, that one broke.
Yeah.
And then, all of a sudden, Paul has it in his mind that we're never going to break up. We have something. And I thought this was so cool because now CW is riding with this and Lou's riding with it.
Right.
And I finally, not that I ever felt, and I never felt comfortable in ECW because I always felt, even when I got to the top, that I still have all this heat, but like now it's a different kind of heat. Now this fucking guy doesn't deserve to be, but he's Jack Victory's friend. And yeah, New Jack wouldn't talk to me, but he also wouldn't beat me up, because he respected Jack Victory. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so cool.
That was nice to say.
Yeah, and then so we get to a certain point where now all of a sudden Rhino's getting pushed. But here's where the foot pointing down. Do you remember the times where we would start getting pushed, but then Candido would come back, and then he would take me and you out of the angle, put Rhino with him, and then Chris would screw up, and then
everybody was trying to lance on the Rhino because Rhino was the thing.
Yes,
he was like that big old, just.
And Paul wouldn't let him talk, and we would talk for him.
Right.
Because he goes, I'm going to let him talk when he's ready. But they would put Candido, and it happened twice. And a lot of people don't remember this. We would get that initial push. Rhino was with us. They would take me and you out, and they would put Candido in for a couple weeks.
Right.
He would screw up, and then Paul would tell us, guys, I've decided. Maybe Chris Candido's not the guy for this.
Really?
I think it's, I think we should go with what I initially planned of you and Jack. And I would get, Jack, is this right? Just go with it, Stevie. Go with it. And then the second time it happened that we got pushed out of it, I was depressed. And I said, shit, man, this sucks. And you go, don't worry. Candido's going to screw up in 3 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks later... Yeah, Candido's gone, and Paul's like, "Oh yeah, you and Rhino and this like that," and you go, "Told you so." I'm like, "Oh, like that." That's the veteran that I aim to be like, and man, that was just so cool. Do you remember? Yes. When
maybe
they, the night they turned me babyface.
Yeah, kind of.
We were in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I talked to Ivan Koloff about this, and I didn't want to like, hey, do you remember when they took Nikita from you and you were so mad? I have a similar story. I thought they were going to take Jack Victory back from me, but they didn't. So it doesn't end up the same way as yours, Ivan. Dreamer gets a page. We still have pagers. Steve, you got to call Paul on a payphone in Charleston, West Virginia. And I go, what? He goes, turning babyface tonight. I go, are you kidding me? Like, no way. We had just done the Dusty feud, and we were hot heels, and he said, I'm gonna turn you babyface and this. And my first thing was, what about Jack? And Paulie said, and he's already lied to me so many times that like his credibility shot. But this Ray, Steve, do you remember what I told you that night in Detroit in 1999 that you and Jack Victory would never break up? I said, yeah. Oh, just trust in me. Right? Because that's what I'm going. I lied.
Yeah, I lied.
Just trust in me. I've never lied to you. And I said, yes, Paul. And I was so worried about, because to me, I was lost without you. Like, in ECW, like, I was doing these things with we were doing the thing with Dusty, and we were doing the thing with Tajiri and Jerry Lynn, and getting shit kicked out of me every night, but we're getting over, and right. We feel like, oh my goodness, we're getting to that top of the thing. And I was so, my worst fear was, oh my God, what if they take Jack away from me, because I'm only over because we're over.
Oh, please.
And I thought it was the coolest thing that we got to do the thing in Philly with Scotty Riggs, and I literally thought that that was the night that Paul was going to screw me and say, no, Jack's going to stay with Cyrus. And when he said, no, and you were the only guy to ever get to Cyrus. And you do that, and we had because people thought we were going to break up, and we have this hug, and you give me the wrestling hug, and I latch onto you, and if you watch it, it's on the network, I latch onto you, and you give me the, oh, fuck, he's just... Like a little kid, I got my head buried. I'm like, oh, Dad, I'm so happy that we're together.
I thought he was going to cry.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to cry.
Now, so we're baby faces. We are the most uncomfortable baby faces ever.
Horrible.
And remember, Paul told us that we were only going to be baby faces for a few weeks, which ends up a few months.
Right.
And we're getting into it, but we still feel more comfortable as heels.
Right.
Now, was that your first babyface role?
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
amazing,
hell yeah.
right?
Hell yeah.
You had been in the wrestling business for 17 years.
Right. Hated marks.
Yeah,
still do. Still do to this day.
They're
very uncomfortable. Yeah, there was 4,000 of them tonight.
Right, and you were a babyface.
Not very uncomfortable.
Now, to let you know a little secret, there was talk in our 10-man tag tonight that CW's selling in the ring, and among the four of us on the outside waiting for the hot tag, there was talk of maybe we should just turn on CW and just leave him.
That would have been great.
Oh, it would have been awesome.
Awesome, yes.
He would have never forgiven us.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
He probably wouldn't have sold.
that's true.
Yeah.
He took 14 bumps yesterday. Of course he's not going to sell. He was over.
Got a wonderful wife. Why should he sell?
She's awesome,
Yes.
right? Man, old CW, scumbag. New CW, pillar of community.
Yeah.
I love it.
Why did she stay with him?
Oh, he's amazing around her.
Yeah.
Like, drinks wine, finger out, eats sushi. Like
Sushi?
Yeah. When we talk about the old CW, like people are like, I just met CW like 6 months ago.
CW, you want to go to a sushi bar? No, I'm going to go to McDonald's.
And then I'm going to bring it into the sushi
Yeah,
restaurant.
I'm going to bring my McDonald's and sit down next to you all when you're eating sushi, and I'm going to eat my Big Mac.
With my FUBU shirt on.
Yeah, with my FUBU shirt. He was a FUBU guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's so different. Now he dresses classy.
Yeah.
Drives an awesome truck.
Awesome truck.
Wine drinker. Like
wine drinker, thumb out.
Oh my!
I mean, pinky
out. He's amazing.
Nice.
He's a Renaissance man now. I love him.
I gotta meet
People
her.
can change.
I gotta meet her.
She's great for him. Oh my goodness. Maybe he shouldn't watch this.
Yeah. He's not gonna watch this, right?
Never.
Good.
Yeah. Unless it's advertised that we're putting him over.
We're not putting him over.
I think so. We're calling him a Renaissance man. Pillar society. Reinvented scumbag. Love him. So we're in this baby face run. First time you're a baby face.
Horrible.
I don't know how to be a baby face, and I ask you advice. You're like, what are you
even,
asking me?
I don't even like my mother. So why would I like these marks? It was like, really? How do I adjust?
Now we shoot a promo one night where we get stuck with Dawn Marie somehow, and Dawn and I do not like each other in the least bit. And now we will publicly put each other over. Privately, we are not each other's favorite people.
She's pretty hot though.
We are not each other's favorite people. And it's because she stole my friend Simon Diamond.
Simon Diamond, done.
And
Gone.
I know, he's a great guy.
What's he doing?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him in like 15 years. We were never the same after Dawn. Yeah, it was, yeah. And
Many a boy's done.
Not because of Dawn.
No,
Okay.
just rats. Just
Not saying Dawn was a rat.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't want,
she wasn't a rat.
I don't want hate emails. Oh my god, I don't want Meltzer asking
you don't
me
think
a question.
you don't think she'll watch this?
I haven't heard from her in years.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So they put her with us, and I just felt like it was killing the chemistry to where this is the first time I start reading bad things about me in the Torch and Observer, and Corino's got heat in the locker room. I'm thinking, I'm a top guy now. Where was this talk a year ago when I had true heat in the locker room? And I'm trying to do everything, and I'm asking Tommy, and I like, who's spreading this rumor? And we have it down to, it's got to be Dawn, it's got to be Roadkill. Like, who's being a dick to me in the locker room? It's these two. And I don't know who it was. It could have been somebody else. But they put her with us, and it really gets to that point of it's hard to work with because I'm so used to we're a team in there. You're my corner guy, but you have as many spots as I do in the match.
Right.
Every singles match was a tag. We were in and out,
Right.
interfering. Even as baby faces, you would interfere. And we get to a boiling point to where, for TV, I have to super kick her. And she goes to the office and tells Paul how unsafe I am. And I am literally heartbroken. And I don't know why, because we don't like each other. But like my integrity is called into question on my super kick. And I don't know why I'm so mad. But you played it cool. You're like, look, man, this is temporary. You take care of her, you super kick her, it's over, and we're good to go. We weren't good to go. I super kick her, and we get to the pay-per-view. Now, this is where the pay-per-view before, this is where the promo is born. I don't know what to talk about. Because Paul would give you do something, and we were good. Boom, boom. Yeah, and you would give the face, but you would really never say anything.
Highspot, yeah.
But this is where the promo is born. I said, I don't know what to say, because Dawn would say something, I don't know what to say. I'm supposed to be angry towards her, and I'm really angry towards her, and she's real angry towards me. But I'm like, Jack, do you want to say something tonight? And you go, Stevie, what am I going to say? All I do sit here is throw my fingers up in the air, and I got my little high spot, and I see Paul from behind the camera go, and you go, oh shit. He's like, yes, the high spot.
High spot, yeah.
And people don't realize that we only did this for 7 or 8 promos of the high spot. But now, still, 16, 17 years later, we're at a convention. People haven't seen you in a dozen years. The first thing they say is high spot. Now, Did you know at the time that we had something, or is it one of those like
No, I
organic?
Look at Daniels with Yes.
Yeah.
Who would ever have thought
Yeah.
the word Yes was going to be major?
And it really gave us that little extra oomph because all of a sudden in every arena, you were already doing the V for victory,
Right.
and it was more of a
Right.
Raven.
And you
remember
put the-
Raven?
and you
You
put-
guys need something like V for victory, and you're like. And you just did it as a rib on Raven.
Right.
But now it became a thing. People would do the victory.
Right.
And, like, now looking back on it, did you say, man, we had something that we probably could have marketed? You know, V for victory shirts or, you know, little V's. And you said you watched that Yes from Brian Danielson or from Daniel Bryan, and you think, man, on a smaller scale, we had something with the high spot.
Right.
And
You never know.
You never know.
You never know. They could have shit on it. Can you say shit?
yeah.
All right. They could have shit on it, and
It could have went. It could have went. Sorry.
right, or it could have been big.
Now and then, once again, just to get us back on the ECW thing of how important you were in the corner, that people didn't realize. Like the high spot was something that people remembered. They remembered the blood that we would spill and stuff like this. But one thing they don't realize is I'm winning the title. The only reason I'm winning the title is because Hack and Sandman, Just Incredible, Jerry Lynn all have breach of contract claims, and I am the last Mohican that doesn't have one in. And you say enjoy it and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, this is cool. We come up with a finish for the first part of the match, and then Dawn Marie is going to turn heel, and then then I'm going to beat Just Incredible.
Right.
But it was so chaotic that night that somehow in the match we do the first finishes, and then we realize, holy shit, we forgot to come up with a finish for the next thing. And then something gets screwed up to where me and Justin are just hitting move after move that we are forgetting that Dawn has to turn heel. So I'm sure Dawn Marie is sitting in the back, seething, thinking that we just screwed her over. And you yell, there's a double down where we're about to go home, and you yell, we forgot the turn! Dawn's got a turn! So you see 17 super kicks and old school expulsions, and that's incredible because we're trying to get back on pace to get to a point where she could come out. And I've been hitting the balls before, but not only did she hit you and me in the balls, she stiffed the hell out of me.
She didn't like you.
And then shot a promo on me, only loud enough for me and Jack to hear it. And she looks and like you,
Where was the tension?
Honestly, a year before, I was still a young guy, and I was riding with her and Simon on a road, and she shit all over me about how I didn't understand about working because she worked so hard to get in ECW, and I said, you did not. You've been in the business for a year and a half, and you got a job. I've been schlepping on the shitty indies all my life.
You got a job from your tits.
I didn't want to say that because Pat was my buddy, and like we just went at it, and that's where it was never the same with me and Pat.
Nice.
No, right? So, but like
No,
there was always
guy.
that tension,
Yeah.
and because like he loved his girl, and I was his friend, but like it was his girl. Like I never held it against him. She hits me in the balls. She hits you in the balls. And then she looks at me. I ask all of you. I don't know if they bleeped it out. I've never watched any of my stuff on the network. But the pay-per-view is on the network. And you got to turn up the volume because you really can't hear it. She yells, you are the biggest fucking piece of shit ever. But she only says it loud enough for me to hear. And right, I go, oh, man. Like, we didn't like each other, but I felt bad that I screwed it up. And I said, oh, once again, Jacko's like, did you remember that when we got in the back, I knew she was going to be mad. And you come in the back and you go, Dawn, I'm so sorry, I forgot the turn. You took the heat right off of me. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, this is cool. Like, and yeah, you were the guy that was always there. You were the vet that didn't need to be the vet. I don't know how many other guys would have done that for, their guy. I was the young guy. You didn't need to do that. Like, and those are things that CW tries to pass on. Myself, Adam Pierce, now even, guys like Kevin Owens and guys that are in the system that have, not that have learned under me, but like have been around me, they say, well, man, Steve taught me how to do this. And I'm like, I didn't teach you how to do this. Jack Victory taught me to pass it on to you. So that makes you're the veteran that everybody wants to be.
Well, that was very nice for you to say that.
Now, after ECW closes, what becomes of Jack Victory?
I stayed in New Jersey. Me and Randy, he had a satellite business, and I was working for him. And you had to stay working. You had to pay the bills.
Right.
And
never bitter.
No, you're never bitter.
Now, was there any thought at that time of you already had the promotions that you were working with ECW? It helped with ground promotion, media and stuff like that. And of course, you were experienced as a manager at gentlemen's clubs and stuff like that. Did you ever think of trying to get to the WWE in the office, like maybe even as an agent?
It was brought up 2 or 3 dozen times. Bringing me and Lou in, and we actually met with them. Mm-hmm. We did. We met with them, and it just never gelled. It was so corporate.
Yeah.
We can do our own thing with ECW. Where up there, it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
Didn't feel right.
Now, do you feel all these years later, and especially seeing the guys from today and the respect that you have of guys that, they were kids when you were in ECW. They weren't even born when you were in UWF.
Oh, a lot of them, yeah.
But then they're looking at you as like, man, this guy's a mentor. And do you think even today that, if given the chance, you could be an agent that could help these kids?
Oh, I don't know. Not you. No.
I think you could.
You sucked in all the knowledge from many, not just me, just many of people that you've been around, and you're in the perfect position.
Me?
You deserve.
I'm here with you.
You deserve everything you're getting right now.
No.
Yeah.
If you listen to this Lanny Poffo promo that hopefully will never play, or
I heard he mentioned he loved Vince.
Oh my goodness gracious! Could have cost me.
Did you cut it?
I hope so.
Great.
Or the first person I get heat with that's going to show up on the internet.
You are probably by far
the luckiest.
At least the top 10, and I say this as a shoot, wrestlers in the whole world in promos.
Really?
Top 10. Absolutely.
No one ever says that.
Absolutely. Working, maybe not.
Maybe
maybe 20, top 20, maybe. But promos, top 10.
Oh, thank you. This
Out of every wrestler.
No.
Absolutely.
No, I just got.
And I would love to argue with somebody with that, but yes, definitely top 10.
Jack, what are you doing today? What's the life of Jack Victory today in 2017?
I'm out of the business completely, except for, this
We drug you back in.
Yeah, you drugged me back in this weekend, which was fantastic. It was great seeing all the boys. But I own a limousine company in Jacksonville, Florida.
Would you like to give it a plug?
Flying Eagles Limousine. If you're in Jacksonville, Florida, please give me a call. Yep.
Number?
Really?
Do you need to get your phone?
904-608-1915.
Awesome.
Nice, yeah.
Jack, thank you so much. This is a lot of years coming that,
It was beautiful.
Michael from Highspots is like, you in touch with Jack Victory? I said, yeah, we talk every once in a while. He's like, I'd love to get
We talked about it for years and years. And
so this was a big catch for.
It was just nice. You and CW invited me up, and it just worked over the Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah,
it just worked. Yeah,
it was great, and it's so good. I've been away from the old school program for like 2 years because I screwed up, and so it was great to have it come back with you as the interview.
Yeah.
So for Jack Victory, this is Steve Corino, and this was Old School on Highspots.